When it comes to going to school, we have a bit of a love-hate relationship with this particular season, examination season. Well, it is that here, and we're here at Okwapeman Senior High School. It's the BEC, that's a Basic Education Certificate Examination that started on the 5th of June 2017. In this particular center, that is the Okwapeman Senior High School Center, we have 367 students writing the exams. And of this number, we have 26 visually impaired students. Now, I don't know about you, but I have never ever witnessed a visually impaired student writing exams. So we're going to move on and then find out exactly how it's like. Follow me and let's go. All right, so we're finally here at the Visually Impaired Resources Center in Okwapeman Senior High School, and in there 26 visually impaired students are writing their exam, integrated science, for the Basic Education Certificate Examination. Why don't you follow me inside and let's find out exactly how they do it. Let's go. I'm actually trying to whisper so I don't disturb them because they're actually still sort of writing. I'm going to speak to one of our authorities here who wants to remain anonymous, but we will be hearing from him. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
All right, so there are 26 students here currently, and they are all writing the exams. However, I can see that not all of them have what I know to be the Braille machines. Can you tell us why?
Thank you. The Braille machines are for, they are all using it to write the same thing. Some are using the frame and stylus. And the stylus is the pin that they use to punch the paper. So the paper is placed in between the frame. They open it and then they insert the paper. And it has some small square on it. And each square box contains 6 dots. So the 6 dots, depending on the word that the student wants to write, if you point at 1, then it means the student is writing A. If you point 1 and 3, it means the student is writing C. If you point the whole cell, the student has written 4.
We have always, as a country, been plagued, especially when it comes to the BEC and the WASI as well, with issues of examination malpractice and cheating and all that. When it comes to visually impaired students, how easy or difficult is it for them to cheat during an exam?
Oh, thank you. When it comes to examination, everybody is afraid of it. So when you are given least opportunity, you are likely to steal. And you see how they sit. So somebody can exchange paper with another person, which is very easy for you to do it. Or in sometimes, those who are using the machine may decide to put the paper 2, double it. And when you punch it, the dot will appear on the 2. So you can easily write it for another person. So
okay.
You give it to the person, and the person will insert the name on top of it, and that is done.
Wow.
We need the invigilators to be around so that they will check some of these things.
It's a little, noisier than the average examination hall. Does that pose a problem?
To themselves, no. And that is why they are excluded from the mainstream, and then they write this because you are making noise. I'm also making it, so it is normal with them. But when you mix them with the sighted, that is where the sighters may feel distracted. But for them, it is okay.
Do they have the same exam questions as the sighted?
Yes, they do. They write the same questions, especially when it comes to English, social studies, all the written papers, and the essay type test. They write the same questions. When it comes to mathematics and science, that is where we do what we call modification. You modify the questions to suit them, because somebody who cannot see cannot be asked to draw a graph, even though they can using other devices. The WAEC and the GES have not provided them. So what they do is they will modify the questions, state the question in a different way. That is what I mean by modification. So the questions are stated in a different way, which may not require them to write, to draw any graph.
So maybe like in a form of a story problem or something?
Yes, something like that. So when they do it that way, it is more convenient. Aside that, they are giving additional hour if the paper is 2 hours.
Oh, okay, really?
So the rules which has been established, convention by WAEC, when the paper is for 3 hours, then you have to give them additional 1.5 hours because they use their fingers to read the dots. Unlike the site where you can use your sight to capture more words at the same time. Here you cannot use your fingers to capture more sentences or more words. It should move from one word to another. So it's very slow. So it is in that sense that they have been given additional hour.
Are all of them totally impaired, visually impaired?
Not all of them. Some may have the small vision that they can use to move about. And there are others who cannot see at all. So even though they are all using Braille, some have some small vision that helps them to move about or to do their normal routine.
So would it be like some sort of an advantage, disadvantage if you're slightly, have a bit of your impairment is not complete or total?
Okay. In terms of academic, no. But maybe in the normal daily life, you have advantage over the one who cannot see at all. Because we have had our students who are totally impaired and they perform creditably well. And even research has shown that those who have the small vision, it interferes with their use of Braille. So they cannot use the Braille so well as those who have been using they are totally blind.
I think about 2 students that I've seen so far who also have written question paper, and the others that they don't have that.
When you talk of visual impairment, it's in degrees. There are some who are low vision. The low vision people are those ones who can read print, but just that you need to modify the print, increase the font size for them to their level, and then they will be able to read. And there are some who cannot read at all. So if you look at 1 or 2 of them, they are using the 2. So she used the Braille where she feels convenient and then use the sight to read as well. So they are lucky to have the 2.
So the font seems quite large compared to the examination papers that I'm used to seeing.
Yes, it's large because depending on the visual acuity. The visual acuity, that is the clarity and then the sharpness of their vision, what they are able to capture at any given time. That is why they have been given the size. And before I give them this, it means the school should also give evidence that this is the type of font size which is convenient to this school. So the school will be using it for them whilst they are in school. So they will forward it to WAEC. A copy will be sent to WAEC after registration, and then they will provide it for them.
If you, as an authority here, if you look at the passing rate of visually impaired students, especially if you're comparing it to the sighted students, what's your take?
They have not been doing badly at all.
The visually impaired students?
They have not been doing badly at all. Last year we received about 12 of them. The first years we have 17 visually impaired. So out of this number that they have, it will not be surprising. You will get about 80% of them progressing to secondary school.
So are all of them willing, are their parents willing to let them move on to the next level?
That is where the challenge is. They themselves will be willing, but when it comes to support, not many people support the visually impaired when it comes to education. If you have a visually impaired child and you have a sighted child who is going through school, people prefer sponsoring their sighted children to school and then leave these ones. So they are being sponsored mostly by individuals, NGOs, and then some churches. Some years gone by, any part or anybody who is visually impaired will be sent to school for the blind. So because of that program, now they don't have more of them coming to school for the blind. They have some basic schools that accept the visually impaired in the mainstream school. just that they provide the resource teachers there to assist them. They are very intelligent people. They can match. We used to have, 2014, we have our prefect who is visually impaired for Okwapamine School. So they should not underrate them.
Well, it's been quite an interesting and educative piece here from the Okwapamine Senior High School, specifically the Visually Impaired Resource Center. I am in awe, and I'm sure you out there are in awe as well. As the saying goes, disability is not inability. Your child can just end up like this in a uniform in a classroom, writing the same examination as sighted children, and you never know where your child will end up. And that's all from me here. I am Solace-Rose. Quartet, still TV3 New Day. We always bring you the best. Don't go anywhere.